The idea to join the Chiapas pilgrimage had been sitting on my shoulder for a couple of years. It was just a whisper. It needed a louder voice to convince me to commit. I heard that voice when I went to last year's fiesta here at Spiritus. I saw the photos and letters from the children and families of our scholarship program expressing their gratitude through their personal stories. I was so moved that my decision was made. I needed to meet these people and explore their community. I had very limited Spanish vocabulary prior to this trip. I knew a few words like por favor, muchos cervezas, and baños, of course. However, I would soon realize that there are many forms of language that are universal. One is music. I'm a musician and songwriter, but I was ambivalent about whether to bring my guitar on this trip because it might be an inconvenience. But as I was leaving that dark early morning, that guitar chose me, and off we went to the airport. Our group arrived in Chiapas and were picked up at the airport in Tuxtla by friends and driven to Laura's house, which would be our central meeting location each morning. I've got to give a shout out to Azalea and Laura because they were our two amazing women that hosted the kitchen. And they cooked for us often, always delicious and accommodating to our dietary needs for vegetarian or vegan. Now, how many vegans and vegetarians do you think there are in Mexico? So they didn't have a lot of tofu in the village. So imagine what they had to do to get it for us, and they did it every morning. We were met by our host families there, and we were each taken to their houses, which would be our homes, for the next week. My dear, sweet Leo and his single mom, Estelle, walked me through the neighborhood to arrive at the house where Carmen, her son Angel Fabian, Carmen's sister Rosemary, and her husband Luis, and their two toddlers, Isaac and David, teenage daughter Honey, as well as Abuela, their grandma. Cousin Leo and Mom Estelle carried my bags, and when they brought my guitar into the house, Luis was so excited that he ran upstairs and he got his own guitar. And with 20 minutes, we were doing a duet. It's pretty neat that this family is randomly chosen for me. I felt the Spirit ascending on this pilgrimage already. I was anxious to see what else was to come. Guitar would be a catalyst at different times during our stay, and this was evident one afternoon while shopping in Tuxtla Centro. While shopping there, I heard the sound of a guitar being played. A young man was playing and singing for tips in the square. I noticed his instrument was greatly out of tune, but he was joyfully playing, so I listened a while, and then I asked if I could assist in tuning his guitar. He was eager to hand it to me, expressing the fact that he didn't know how to tune it. So I sat down on the bench, tuned it properly, then played a little American rock and roll. I think it was the band Heart. I returned it to him. He was delighted. As he walked off smiling, he began to play and entertain with his new sound. I felt grateful for that connection and the exchange of gifts between us. It was becoming clear that music was leading this journey, so I kept my guitar close by. We had scheduled a trip up to the mountains into Simojovel to visit coffee plantations and mushroom growing operations. The drive up there was 3 hours in a passenger van that was filled to capacity on winding, rugged roads. If you forgot your Dramamine, you were doomed. I managed to cram that guitar right in front of my legs while sitting in the rear of the van and moved on, ventured forward. We were very fortunate to be in Mexico during Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. If you guys have seen the movie Coco, it's basically the same idea. They believe that their loved ones come back, return for 3 days to celebrate and party with them. So there were flowers everywhere, carpets of magnolias and other indigenous flowers, altars made, and gifts along the altar to represent the things that the loved ones enjoyed in their living years. The following morning, we were driven in a pickup truck into the village of Pimienta. We were greeted by a group of people who worked in the mushroom module, as well as some of the villagers, including their beautiful children. I had my guitar strapped to my back as I walked up and began the tour. While there, one of the workers motioned to hold my guitar, so I handed it over to him. He began playing a lovely Mexican ballad. His father wanted a little bit of the action too, so we gave it to him. He started playing, and before you knew it, we had a little song circle going way up on the mountains. They asked if on the way down the hill we would make a parade while I played. So we formed a line, a procession, and we started walking to the sound of De Colores. Now, one of my fellow pilgrims, his name's Ray, he is, wherever Myra is, Myra, he is your cousin. I'm bringing Myra into this because it's quite entertaining. Now, Ray is quite a guy. He's a very big-hearted, loving guy who's full of adventure and willing to try anything, and I mean anything. So he asked the villagers, hey, can I borrow your horse? Can I borrow your horse? So they obliged with these big smiles. I think in their minds, they looked at our crew and thought, we're going to get a free circus out of this deal. Speaking of our group, you know, our group represented what, it was reflective of what we do here, inclusivity, diversity. Spiritus Christi is so diverse. Our group had our spiritual mamacita, Lori, a same-sex couple, an African-American cowboy, our wonderful hippie leader, Krista, and a gay minstrel. So this was an amazing journey. Oh, two Jewish women. Forgot them. Thank you, babe. So as we got to the bottom of the hill, we came down to the composting area, and around it were beautiful young children. So I knelt down next to them under a tree with these sweet little strangers and continued to play more of De Colores. The people in these deep indigenous areas don't speak traditional Spanish language. It's something called tzotzil. So we really couldn't communicate language to them. But music being this universal language, I was able to capture their attention and create a connection between their hearts and my guitar. The brightness in their smiles gave us profound joy. I had just embraced a new emotional space in my life. The elder in charge of the mushroom growing asked Krista if we would please join him to his home to meet his mother. We arrived at this primitive stone casa. We waited outside as some family members helped to get the elderly matriarch ready for guests. We noticed that it was a difficult process, and it was clear that she had some trouble with mobility. We began to worry and wish we hadn't disturbed her. In fact, Chris and I said, we've got to get out of here. She needs to rest. But as she slowly finally made her way just outside the door, it was announced that it was her 100th birthday today. What are the chances? Her son didn't want to miss this rare opportunity to celebrate his mother on her special day with outside visitors. She didn't want to diminish the gesture, so she made her grand and gracious appearance. It was the perfect storm of good intentions, one that called us all. We answered with song as I swung the guitar in front of me and began strumming the chords to lead our American choir in singing happy birthday to this classy gem. There's no denying the profundity of the way the music became the language that connected us, transcending all barriers. The neighborhood back in Tuxtla was planning a fiesta, a party for our group from Spiritus to express their appreciation and gratitude for our 25-year relationship. 40 families receive our scholarship each year. It's a financial gift to assist students and their families with things like uniforms, books, transportation, shoes, etc., things that we take for granted. We fund the program and they administer it by building relationships with eligible recipients and supporting the families' efforts to encourage their children to meet the academic requirements to earn the scholarships. The fiesta was amazing. It was themed around Dia de los Muertos, so all the traditional attire and traditional arrangements and altars and flowers. It was beautiful. They also served us plate after plate of amazing Mexican cuisine, some of it obscure flavors I hadn't had here in the States before. We sat and we listened to heartwarming stories of diverse challenges that families faced and how the gift of scholarship had enabled them to improve their circumstances. We were given handmade gifts to bring back here to use as raffle items to help keep this mission moving. So they made things for us to keep the mission moving. We were buying gifts in the city central to bring back, but they made them. That's a teaching. What teachers these people are to make these contributions and show us how we can be more resourceful and follow their example as a community. And we sang, I accompanied a neighborhood of Mexican voices from ages 3 to 83 in a finale of De Colores. I encouraged the children to find percussion in tables, chairs, silverware, and plates, and we rocked the house. I may have played a little AC/DC that night when they were doing the percussion. Well, I couldn't resist when you see these lovely faces on all around you. The song De Colores, let's talk about that. De Colores, the colors. When you go to Mexico, it's like walking into a colorful prison. Everything in Mexico is full of color. It's like walking into nature, colors of people, colors and character, beauty of life, colorful energy, visually and spiritually. If you think about it, color is magic. It aligns to form a perfect rainbow. It's kind of a miracle. It reflects our aspiration to come together to align all of our difference and diversity to make magic like a rainbow. It's pretty colorful. Actually, what we have right here is hope. Color is hopeful as we look to that big, bright, colorful sun to begin a new day for us. We have a color coalition in this room. We unite to embrace diversity. And there's nothing more colorful than that. Now, I'm going to go off a little bit, like I was told not to, and I'll probably be in the timeout room afterward. But I figure Father Jim's been in timeout for over 20 years anyway, so. I had some oh my God moments. Now, oh my God has gotten a bad rap. I think because it's been used improperly or used too much, it's diminished its message. But I still refer to God when I feel something profound, either it's negatively or something profound positively. So let me share this couple with you. Oh my God, these people are heating up water on a fire to get warm water to bathe in. Oh my God, it's so hot here. Thank God I have a cold shower. Oh my God, look at those poor dogs in the streets without homes. Oh my God, there goes Julio again, taking in another stray and feeding the homeless ones. The 15-year-old girl that's part of the family I was staying with, she seemed to be struggling to find her place and her path and where she fits in her peer community. She and I haven't quite made our connection yet, so I say, oh my God, I hope that things get better for Honey. And maybe there's a way that she and I can also connect. And then Honey tells me that her favorite bands are Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, and Queen. And I say, oh my God, you do love me. Connection made. She learned 3 chords on the guitar before I left. I had many spiritual connections throughout my time in Chiapas. One in particular was like a Zen moment, a vision at the church. Friends and neighbors united in the streets to spread affection and conversation. Affection is something you'll need to get used to when you go to Chiapas. You will get a crash course in kisses. In the 7 days I was there, I'm sure I had over 1,000 kisses. Beautiful love there. They seemed so committed in the streets to each other's lives, and it was a loving neighborly bond of solidarity, something I had never seen or felt before. These people live with simple means, but they certainly are not poor. They're so very, very wealthy. I've been trying to get rich like them since I left there. They have their own money. It's called character currency, and it's abundant. They have annuities of character that grow and grow, and it's graciously given to friends, neighbors, and strangers as needed. The world could use this annuity, couldn't it? But the world's got to accept it. When's the last time you went to accept a gift with your fists up? The world can accept these gifts of character if they open up. So I could feel the energy really pulling me in at this point. As we were walking to church, I knew something was changing. We arrived there, it was a full house. It was lovely guitar playing, beautiful singing, and the spirit was thick. The spirit was so thick. As I was sitting watching the priest offer his spiritual advice, everything went dim around me, and sound and the peripheral sights went dim. In front of me, I saw a light. Now, I'm pretty healthy, so it's not that light. but rather a flame from a match that was burning a map. It spoke to me. I saw it as the map of my life, the map that represented artificial boundaries, restricting my spiritual destiny. I've had enough of boundaries these days. What about you guys? Right on? Right on. Our Chiapas people weren't following conditional maps or paths, and they seemed so free, not to be bound. That moment actually inspired these lyrics. Burn the map, watch ashes fall. Life is approximate after all. Leave the path, set it free. We're passengers of God's destiny. Now, I think God actually might even flip a coin himself from time to time to put a little random in the design. God's coin, however, has a heart on each side. Thanks for letting me share.